Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Diana Wright Show live online. We welcome you from around the world and in the United States. And we thank you so much for joining us. And this morning, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about love. Because you see, love is just one of those things. A friend of mine, Garth Rose, and I were talking about love yesterday. And we were talking about love because we were kind of saying that if you really and truly don't have that love for yourself, you don't really get very far. Because love is one of those emotions that we all need, we all want. But then when we couple that love and forgiveness and God together, it kind of moves us forward. Because, you know, let's just take, for example, our children. They drive us crazy, we will get upset and all that. But as it comes down to it, you still love them. So if they hunger, if they need, you still try to provide that need and feed them or take care of them if they're sick, even if they just try to kill you yesterday. Okay, that's taking it extreme. But if you think of love the way you really should, someone said the root of all sin is selfishness. So if we try not to be selfish, try not to always think of ourselves in our journey to forgiveness and in our journey to repair love that is broken, we actually have to give it some deep thought. Because if we start with our children as we just did, yes, you seem to be able to love your child no matter what that child does. And for some people, they will love their husband, their spouse, their significant other, no matter what they do. Unless, of course, it gets to be physical abuse. Then, to me, love should just go through the window. But I think of love as the most powerful emotion. And when I think also, let's take it to friendship. Take it away from, you know, spouse and significant others for a minute. And let's go to friendship. How many of us are big enough to call someone who's hurt us, who has disappointed us, despite the fact that we know we're wrong, but we need to pick up the phone and call that person? Because the bottom line of that thing is that you truly love the person. You miss that person. You want that person in your life. I don't know if you necessarily need, because sometimes you do need to get rid of some of the people out of your life. But sometimes love is so powerful and so front and center that we need to take a step back and say, what do I need to do because I truly love this person? Whether it's your significant other, your spouse, your friend, or your child. How powerful is your love? How powerful are you willing to make your love known and seen and felt by the other party in your life? I know for your children it comes much easier. But for your spouse, it seems sometimes a little more difficult. And for a lot of people, if you don't pray every single day to love that person because they did you wrong, you never seem to get to that place of love again, or mending, or, you know, forgiving. And even if you forgive sometimes, the love just don't seem to be able to come back. But is it that we really need to look at our relationships and say, if we do mend them, if they do come back and start over, that is the true meaning of our love? Because our children, we always seem to be able to start over and forget what they did yesterday. You don't forget, you kind of put it in, you know, the storage bin. Yeah? So you put it in the storage bin for your children. But are you willing to put it in the storage bin for your spouse, your significant other, or your friends? How deep is your love? How big is your love? How true is your love that you claim you have for someone else? Or are we just too selfish that we're not willing to give love? We only want to receive it for ourselves because we're so selfish. We only want people to adore us and love us and be nice to us and treat us well. But when we need to do the same thing or reciprocate, we seem to find it so hard to bend, to make a move, to call, to do the right thing, to say, I'm sorry. I hurt you. I know I did. I am wrong. I'm sorry. How many of us are big enough to do that? Well, that's where we start today, because I am asking you, each and every one of you from around the world and in the United States looking at me today, to make sure your love is big enough to say that I am wrong. I was wrong. I'm sorry. You are my friend. I love you and I want to be in your life, in your world. And if you're a spouse, are you big enough to say that, to apologize? Significant other, same thing. And children, we should teach our children to apologize for what they do and what they say out of turn to you as a parent. Just along with teaching them to love themselves, they need to have a big enough heart to apologize for what they know they've done wrong and how they've hurt you. Because some children truly hurt their parents. They do. But are you big enough to come back and say, Mom or Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you that way, but I was having a bad day, but something was going on with me. Explain what it is that was happening with you. And allow the person the time they need to cleanse and forgive you. Because for me, my mom will tell you, malice is not part of my agenda. I will have the biggest war with you today, and in the next 5 minutes, I'm good. As long as I was allowed the opportunity to speak my mind and get it off my chest in the most respectful way that I can do so. Because sometimes people really tick you off, and the people that you love so much and you think you do so much for, they really could get under your skin and do things to drive you mad, to disappoint you, to enrage you. But are we big enough to encompass and take deep in our spirit and in our hearts and our minds the love that we had for that person, resurrect it, and make it whole again? That's where we have to be, because otherwise we are just going to keep going down, going down, going down. And those of us who have people around us who love us every day and say they love you, if everybody loves you, honey, they are lying, because they don't. They want something from you, or they are seeking some ulterior motives from the friendship or the marriage or the motherhood. Watch out for that, because everyone is not going to love you. Everyone is not going to like you. Some people just see you and meet you and you have no conversation and they decide they just don't like you. But is your love big enough to spread and encompass the people that come in your circle, the people you meet and see, without judging, without trying to change them? Because remember, that's one of the things that a lot of us try to do when we meet someone that we love. We try to change the person to match our mold. The person you love, or the person you choose to be your friend or your mate, there was something about that person that you love that attracted you to them in the first place. So why would you want to try to waste your time and try to change that person? That's not the reason to give love, or that's not the reason to receive love. So my plea to you today is to open your heart and try to make it as big as you can with the word LOVE. And as you hasten to love yourself, because the national, international I Love Me Day is coming closer April 30th is that day that was launched and declared by this show, a crusade that I want to have with you to love yourself and teach your children to love themselves. I ask you to open your hearts. And if you're depressed and if you're blue today, I reach out to you and ask you, what is so bad in your life that you can't open the curtains, open the blinds, get out of the corner, start eating again, start talking to friends, return your phone calls, and check your voicemail. There might be just an uplifting word on that voicemail that takes you out of the blue zone and into the green. Once again, welcome to the Diana Wright Show live online, and we thank you so much for joining us from around the world and in the United States. Yes, so love is the order of this day. Just simply love. Just like we felt the love yesterday from Pope Francis I, I want you to feel that love for yourself and try to give it to someone else. Mend the fences of whomever you have some issue with, even if you have to make that first call. Now, I know that's hard because you know you were wronged and you know you should not be calling that person. But let's try to do that today. It's a good day. It's a beautiful day. It's a crisp day. If it's not too cold and snowy, wherever you are. So, we invite you to do that. And we just want to congratulate the women who are celebrating the Pope today and getting rid of or putting aside the feeling that they're so upset that there's no woman in the priesthood. So we congratulate all the women around the world who are fighting the cause for women to be allowed to be in the priesthood, for priests to be able to marry and maybe have some children. Because then I guess a lot of women believe that they will be able to relate more deeply to some of us who are not Catholics or Catholics themselves. So we applaud the women who are supporting the Pope and have expressed their love for the Pope, despite the fact they disagree with what the Catholic Church is actually doing and excluding women from the table. So we hope that Pope Francis I, in his kind humility, humble, quiet being, will reflect and think about how this will move forward. Because they're already putting out the challenges that will face him. One of the challenges is to clean the house of the Vatican. Because I'm sure if you follow the Catholic Church, you do know that the Vatican has crazy things going on with its finances inside the Vatican. They have their own world in there, you know, their own government, their own bank, their own everything. And the Catholic Church is indeed powerful. Look around you and see the amount of things they own around the world. Not just in your little place that you live, but around the world. Remember, the Catholics around the world is 1.2 billion strong and growing in places like Africa and Brazil and the Philippines. They're growing exponentially. So we need to be mindful of the Catholic Church and their strength and their financial strength also. Because they own lots and lots and lots of properties around the world. So we applaud the women again for taking a moment to just breathe, as Dax said yesterday. We need to just breathe. And though we have our own issues that needs to be taken care of, we can still celebrate the selection of Pope Francis I. So, they're welcoming him mainly because he's a Jesuit Pope. But these are some of the things that are his greatest challenges as he moves forward. This is his first full day of being Pope. So, here are some of the things that people are watching. cleaning house at the Vatican, as I mentioned before, leading the church out of the sex abuse scandals, mainly in America, but other places. I don't know how he will do that, but he seemed so much like a praying pope, like all the other popes, but he just seemed a little bit more so. So I'm sure he will be going to God in prayer to figure out a way to sort this whole sex scandal thing in the church. Is it that Catholic priests need not to take that oath of celibacy for their life? Is it that if they had women in their life, then maybe they won't be sexually abusing boys? That's a big debate. So let's think about that today. And just want to remind you that chiropractor Matthew Simon will be joining me at 11 o'clock or somewhere there to talk a little bit about your health and straightening out your back. And I think I'm exercising too much. I'm having spasms in my back. So maybe, just maybe, he can help me too. Leading the church out of that sex scandal. Wow, it's been going on for years and years. We just saw the settlement in California this week for $10 million. How does Pope Francis I deal with some of these problems? Getting along with other faiths, you know, like Muslims, because Pope Benedict seemed to have offended the Muslims. Is he going to be able to fix this, to repair the relationship with the Catholic Church and all the other faiths around the world? Because it's not just Catholics. We have Lutheran, we have Protestants, we have Muslims, we have Church of God, we have all these kind of people. Different faiths. Is he going to be able to repair relationships between the Catholic Church and all the other faiths? Will he have the ability to win the West? Well, they say he is an evangelist at heart. So I am betting that he will be evangelizing in the West and making sure that you truly know that he's taking the Catholic Church back to basics, back to where they started and who they truly really are. Should women be priests and should priests marry? That's another challenge. What are your thoughts about this particular issue? Should women be priests and should priests marry? Or should we just remain a Catholic Church that is male only at the hierarchy, and priests are not allowed to marry, so they continue to molest young boys? Big question. Modernization of the Catholic Church. Move to a more liberal direction is where most people would like Pope Francis I to move to. More progressive, as some people might say. So we'll wait and see. Persecution. Oppression of Christians around the world. Is he going to be able to deal with that? Because you do know that a lot of people around from various countries around the world cannot openly say they are Christians because they will be persecuted to the limit. Some of them will actually be killed for being Christians. So will Pope Francis I be able to tackle a big issue like this? Just notice his name. I thought about that yesterday. Yes, he's from Argentina. He was born in Argentina. But remember, his father was Italian, born in Turin, Italy. They simply moved to Argentina. So that's the reason he was born there. But his name is actually very Italian. Spanish mixed with Italian there. So we wish the Pope well on his first day as being Pope Francis I and dumping his other name as Cardinal. So we will see how he moves with his humility. I'm still kind of curious how he's going to handle that whole Vatican scene. You know, coming from not wanting his limousine and his driver in Argentina, wanting to cook his own meals. Is he going to be cooking his own meals in the Vatican? I don't think so. And then also to give up the palace. Is he going to give up the Vatican and go live in some little apartment in Rome? I don't think so either. So we'll see how Pope Francis, the simple man, the humble man, the evangelist, the scholar that he is. We hear he's serious and he will take on people head on like he did take on the government of Argentina. So let's watch and see. He's a man of the poor. So we'll see he's a Jesuit. And I tell you, every time I see him and I think about him, I remember the Jesuit priest. I can't wait to bring that show to the world, because you will see what I'm talking about. The Jesuit priest that was on that show so impressed me and made such an impression on the people in the audience. And of course, a lot of the women were being a little crazy because they kept saying to him, "You're so handsome. Why would you want to be celibate? Why wouldn't you not marry? You're so gorgeous." Because he is a handsome guy. And you do have lots of handsome guys who go into the priesthood. So, what a celebration it was yesterday. The Pope, the new Pope, and the name he chose for himself. The name Francis. Francis, who gave up everything to be with the poor. He chose the name Francis. So, here we go. Number one. We start from number one. And we need not forget that he was actually just behind Benedict the 16th to be Pope last time around. So, you know, maybe they didn't really break any new ground or anything, because they would have elected him last time if it wasn't for Pope Benedict the 16th. So here we go. Let's see what Pope Francis the First is made of. All right, let's kind of shift over a little bit to some politics here, because you see, I watched intently the young man who leaked that 47% tape of Mitt Romney at the fundraiser in Boca Raton last night on Ed Schultz's show. And I simply just wondered, because from the beginning, when I saw Mitt Romney on television, I knew he was not authentic. I felt it, you know, just from the television. I felt it. Because there's something about me that can kind of feel people. I walk in a room and I can kind of feel out who's there, who's not so straight. And I felt that he was not authentic. And then when I kept listening to him, I knew he was lying about a lot of things. The whole Bain Capital thing and, you know, everything that surrounded him that just seemed to be so staged and so pretentious. And then when his wife, Anne, who seemed like a nice lady, said it's our turn on one of those morning shows, I thought to myself, is it anyone's turn to be president of the United States? Or don't you just go out there and campaign and let the people fall in love with you as a politician by you saying the right thing or doing the right thing? Talking about corporation are people too. And all the other blunders. But the 47% one was the seal of the deal. Everybody's talking about they thought that turned the election, and, you know, if that wasn't so, Romney would have won. Romney would not have won. Forget the 47%, he would have lost anyway, because if you're on the ground out there, there were no black people, and most brown people and Chinese people were never going to vote for Mitt Romney. So he would not have won. So I would like for people to get beyond that and stop saying that, because it's not true. And all the Republicans and the Tea Partiers and the Karl Roves who, you know, were predicting that he was going to win by a landslide. And that other crazy guy on Fox. He was not ever going to win the election. with or without the 47%. And even with the president's bad showing at the first debate, people were reasoning it out and saying, okay, well, for me, I was reasoning it out because I kept saying, okay, if I went to have a debate with someone who I know and who I've seen for the past how many months saying XYZ, there is no way I would have imagined that that person would come and change into another human being right on stage in front of the American people without the American people realizing that he is a liar. And he was lying. He was lying through his teeth, pretending to be someone that he knows he was not the night of the first debate. So I excused the president because I kept saying, I would be in shock too. How would I even manage that? I would have been thrown off my game because here you're coming to debate someone who you know where his heart is and where his head is, and then he makes a turn totally to another person, because I certainly did not recognize that person in the first debate. And I think the president was shocked out of his wits. Hence, he just tried to respond as much as he could. And the fact that it was his anniversary, he was kind of wondering, why do I need to be here talking to this guy who has changed into somebody else? So I, along with a lot of people, reasoned that out. Because I know I was not the only one. And I reasoned it out long before everyone else was talking about it. Okay, I think this is my first guest. So I think I'm going to welcome, hello, good morning. I trust this is Dr. Simon calling me.
This is Dr. Simon.
How are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm good, and I thank you so much for calling into the program and kind of educating us about yourself as a chiropractor, because I'm sure you know that we have gone past the days where we are thinking that chiropractors are actually quack doctors. We have passed that. Yeah, you know, so I want you to clear up some things for us as being a chiropractor this morning, and I want to welcome you to the Diana Wright Show live online, and welcome all our viewers. Okay, so welcome, Dr. Simon. His name is actually Dr. Matthew Simon. Matthew, the name from the Bible. Okay, I don't know if that is of any significance, but anyway, I'm sure it is to your mother. Okay, so welcome to the program, and we would like for you to just kind of get us past the place of where everyone thinks or used to believe then that chiropractors, you know, they just make things worse, or if you go to them and they say they fix you, you really have more pain and all that kind of stuff. Tell us a little bit about Dr. Simon.
Okay, I started in chiropractic because I thought, too, that chiropractic was about pain. I was having some really awful headaches when I was 16 years old after a wrestling accident.
Wow.
And I thought, after taking Tylenol with codeine for 6 months and starting to really affect the rest of my life, where it was affecting my schooling and my relationships and my health.
Mm-hmm.
And so my best friend's father was really a fan of this chiropractor in our area, and he took me to see him. And the chiropractor wouldn't see me without my parents' permission. Because,
obviously.
And so I called my father, who is a medical doctor, and I asked him if I could get adjusted. And he said, go to a quack over my dead body. And I basically said to the chiropractor, well, my father says that he has no problem with it. I'm going to sign the permission slip. And so I started my chiropractic adjustments under secrecy. And
wow.
What happened was, lo and behold, the chiropractor found that I had some pressure on my brainstem. That when the X-ray was taken, that was what was causing the headaches. So he said to me that you think that the problem is the headache, but the headache is your body's solution to the problem.
Wow.
Trying to scream out for help, and so all of the drugs in the world wouldn't have taken that physical pressure off of my brainstem. So he started adjusting me, and guess what happened?
Wow.
Yeah, my headaches went away. But so then I went to chiropractic school thinking that it was a headache treatment. then I found out later on that it's really not a treatment for anything. Even though it helped significantly with many problems, at the end of the day, your brain's job is to control and to coordinate every part of your body. You know, the way that we're created is to be healthy. And so from the moment that we're conceived, it really comes down to something called your nervous system. Your brain is the first part of your body in utero to start to develop, the first organ. After just a few days, your brainstem and your spinal cord start to form, and then every other part of your body, when you're growing in your mother's womb, actually grows off of nerves. And the same power that made your body from one cell to a living, breathing human being with 76 trillion cells, plus or minus, is the same power that heals our body. Okay. There really is no other way to heal other than making sure that your body is given everything that it needs and remove everything that it doesn't need. And I think that was really the key for me. When I learned that, I understood that that I was empowered to heal myself, but I was also responsible for keeping myself healthy.
Okay, all right. So
that's what we do.
Okay, so tell me then. I am quite interested, because I've been doing a lot of research about chiropractors who also are neurologists and who also can help people with brain injuries. Are you one of those chiropractors, or are you not?
I definitely work from a neurological model, but a lot of the neuro-based chiropractors are still using the medical model to treat their patients. And what I mean by the medical model is based upon when someone has a symptom that you treat the symptoms, and when the symptoms go away, that the patient is healed. But that's not even close to being true. Okay. The reality is there's a lot of people out there who are asymptomatic and who have a lot of disease building in their body right now.
Right.
Heart disease and cancers are silent killers. Just this last week, I've heard countless stories from patients about relatives of theirs, parents and people that they know that are in their 50s and 60s who are dying of strokes and heart attacks. And a 41-year-old doctor who is one of my patient's best friends, who was just diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, to leave behind a 15-month-old baby. And this kind of thing doesn't have to happen. The vast majority of American disease is preventable with a healthy lifestyle. And so my role, as far as I can tell people, is to teach them to take care of their body, to prevent disease, and to reverse the processes that have already begun, because most people have already been subjected to the physical, the chemical, the emotional, spiritual stresses that are interfering with the body from healing itself. If you have more stress on your nerves than your nerves are capable of adapting to, then your brain is not getting the right information. See, most people are slightly brain damaged, and they just don't even know it.
Wow. Okay. That's a good one. Okay, if someone is suffered a brain injury and they've been through all the therapies, the OTs and the PTs and the speech and all that kind of stuff, would that be someone that you would actually see to try to help them to either move forward in their recovery, or would that be not for you?
Well, I take care of people from their first breath until their last, as long as they want to be well, and so it's not condition specific.
Right.
If someone has a brain injury, the wonderful thing about your brain is even though you can kill nerve cells, the nerves around that area can still, through a process called neuroplasticity, they can create new connections. And so the more you consistently stimulate area of the body or the brain, the better it responds, or the worse, depending upon the activity. And so, of course, OT, PT, these are very valuable things. The only thing that I would do separately is that by stimulating certain parts of the anatomy, you can stimulate certain parts of the brain a little bit differently. And if there is interference in the nervous system, wherever that is, so if it's physical stress, you reduce that as much as you can.
Right.
If there's chemical stress, known as toxicity, you reduce that as much as you can. If there's deficiency, in terms of what the brain actually needs to heal, things like good fats. I mean, people have been told that fats are the enemy since the early 80s, that we have a no-fat, low-fat diet, but that's the worst thing to do for the brain and the nerves. We believe in giving the brain the super nutrients and the superfoods that it needs in order to heal. And fats are one of the biggest things that your brain needs. Unfortunately, one of in fact, the most highly prescribed medicine on the planet right now are statin medications, or cholesterol drugs. And one of the things that cholesterol drugs do is actually diminish the good fats in the nerves.
Wow.
And that can actually lead to neurological problems by itself. So, we've seen things like Alzheimer's go up by 200 to 300% in the last decade alone. We've seen MS go up. We've seen Parkinson's go up. We're doing a class in our office called Living to 100 at the end of the month because...
Okay, Living to 100. I'm in.
So I'd love to have you there, but we're trying to equip people with the knowledge and the tools to create a healthy life. No drug ever created health inside anybody, and nobody was ever sick because of a lack of medication. And so our job is to teach people how to heal from the inside out.
Okay. So if I am a patient of Dr. Matthew Simon, chiropractor, that means you're dealing with my whole self.
Absolutely. There's 5 essentials in what we do in Maximize Living. And the first one is called maximizing your mind. Now, in maximizing your mind, it's just all about learning how to think like a healthy person. Because, while we all agree that nutrition is important and that exercise is important and all of the aspects of health, I don't think that we need another book on nutrition or another videotape on how to work out.
Amen.
Commercial on equipment.
Exactly.
It's not a lack of information. It's a lack of inspiration. It's a lack of knowledge that's applied. And so part of what we do in our office is help people to keep themselves accountable by creating healthy habits. So that's Maximize Mind. The second essential that we have in Maximize Living is maximizing your nerve supply. Of course, again, what controls the function of every cell, tissue, and organ in your body? It's your brain, right? Your brain. So you're officially dead when you're brain dead. And we want to make sure that people are alive as possible. So we give them a good dose of life by removing that physical nerve pressure. And then we have maximizing your nutrition, maximizing your lean muscle and oxygen, because most people don't exercise in a way that's really effective. And then finally, reducing your toxicity. So those are the 5 essentials that we teach people to live an above-down, inside-out life.
So that simply means, and then that anyone could be a patient of Dr. Simon.
Everyone is.
Yeah, because you don't have to have. I don't have to have a complaint to come to you in terms of how I feel with my body or anything, because it seems to me that when you go to a chiropractor, even though you think you're fine, they will tell you that you're really not fine. Am I correct?
Well, I would say that the truth is that because 5 out of 6 people are headed towards heart disease, cancer, or diabetes, by the time you feel heart disease, it's too late.
Oh.
More than half the time, the first symptom of heart disease is a fatal heart attack.
Okay.
So, I would argue that most people are not well. That even if you feel good, because you can't feel for the 90% of the cells in your body at any given time, by the time you feel it, there's already damage going on.
Wow.
By the time you feel cancer, it's already too late.
Okay.
So people need a lifestyle program that's congruent with life. Because right now most Americans are living a death style program, not a lifestyle program.
Okay. All right. So take me through a journey of a patient coming to you for the first time. And, say for me, I think I felt some spasms like in my back this morning because I'm attributing that to probably lifting too much weight or, exercising in the wrong way or something. What would my journey be like with you?
Sure. Well, the first thing that we would do is obviously just a history of all of the things that you can recall that your body has been through, physically, chemically, emotionally over the course of your life.
Okay.
Take a look at your structure, is what we call a window to your spine. So if there's a postural abnormality, you don't have to believe in chiropractic to understand that gravity has an effect on your body, right? The gravity falls straight down, and if you were to, let's say, misalign a tire on your car, that tread on that tire is going to wear away differently, right?
Right.
So if you have bad posture, you know, and Mom always told you sit up straight. But
yes, sit up straight.
that the way that you stand, the way that you move, the way that you sit, has a lot to do with how much energy your body is using for relationships with gravity, what's called proprioception. And so the first thing we would do is a nerve scan on you. The nerve scan can actually tell if the brain is communicating properly with the body. You see, if there's a nerve that's irritated, it will respond by telling that part of the body to become irritated. So if the nerves are irritated physically, chemically, or emotionally more than your body can take, and those nerves are going to a muscle, that muscle has no choice but to spasm.
Okay.
Right? So is it physical stress, or is it chemical stress, or is it emotional stress? And the answer is it could be any or all. And you know, and the same thing is true with the stomach. If you know someone who has too much acid in their stomach,
right,
the problem is not the acid in the stomach. The problem is what's creating that in the first place. So always be prepared to ask the questions why.
Why? Okay.
Is it dietary? Is it emotional stress? Is it that there's actually pinched nerves that are going to the stomach?
Right.
And so we can take a look at the nerve scan and see if the nerves are irritated, if the nerves are depressed. And then, you know, so if the nerves are irritated on the way up to the brain, someone can have anxiety. If the nerves on the way to the brain are being depressed, then someone can have depression. But no one's ever had depression from a lack of Prozac in their body. No one ever fell down a flight of stairs and all of the Prozac just fell out of their head and needed to be replaced. So we have to investigate the why and be scientific about it. Really, to understand that, then the next step after the nerve scan, if there is nerve stress, would be to take an X-ray. And the X-ray can actually see if there is a spinal misalignment. There are normal curves in the spine. So if you look at someone from the side, you want to see three normal curves: a forward curve in the neck, another forward curve in the low back, and a backward curve in the middle, the mid-spine. And if someone loses those curves, it puts much more pressure and tension on the actual spine and the spinal cord, and can not only cause pain, but more importantly, dysfunction. The same nerves that someone might have to their neck or down their arm, if someone has tingling in their arm and hand, the thing that concerns me with that kind of neuropathy is that those same nerves have branches that go to the heart and the thyroid and other parts of their body. And if someone's thyroid is breaking down, seldom will their doctor say to them, oh, we need to get your neck adjusted. They'll usually say to them, here's this thyroid pill. If someone's having inflammation that's going, you know, to part of their body, rather than eliminating that inflammatory agent, usually the doctor says, here's an anti-inflammatory. So we have to look at it again, not from an effect standpoint, but from a cause standpoint.
Right.
You can have disease building in your body and not even know it.
Okay. So nerve scan, then an X-ray, and then the treatment begins.
Well, and so some people have really bad spines, and again, it's not based upon symptoms, it's based upon the biomechanics of it. So the way that you know that you're going to a good chiropractor is by not only will they take the time to evaluate your nervous system for that misalignment, but after a series of treatments or adjustments, they should be able to take another X-ray and show you that the spine has actually made changes or improvements compared to that first X-ray. Does that make sense? You wouldn't go to Weight Watchers and then never weigh in or never weigh in again, right? You'd want to be able to see a before and an after. And the same thing is true with chiropractic. If they're just throwing electric stim on your back or heat or all the things to make the pain go away, but they're not actually taking care of the cause of the problem, I have patients who come into my office all the time, having gone to chiropractors before, and they're usually going to the insurance-based chiropractors who are just doing the HMO game of charging the HMO as much as they can with the therapies. At the same time, all they're doing is treating the pain while the patient is getting sicker. And what I mean by that is, if there were a child who were drowning, and the symptoms might be that they were screaming and splashing, are those symptoms good or bad?
Okay.
So, you know, if your child was drowning, would you want them to scream and splash so that you would know about it?
Yes, absolutely.
And so then if a doctor said to you, well, you're complaining about all the screaming and splashing, so what I'm going to do is give you something that you can't see the splashing, but you can't hear the screaming. And now the symptoms are gone. Are you happy now?
No, absolutely not.
The child is now drowned. And so if your body is talking to you, symptoms, which have been demonized, every fourth commercial on television is a drug ad that tries to tell you that your symptoms are the problem. And the drug companies are making billions and billions of dollars selling more drugs to more people. In fact, we take more medications in the United States than every other country in the world combined. About 56% of the medications of the world are taken by the 5% of the U.S. population.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because you brought up two things that I was going to ask you about: insurance, and then you brought up what you just said just now, which when I watch those ads on television for all that medication, when they list the side effects, I stand there and I'm going, so why would I want to take that?
And people take that stuff. I mean, it seems ridiculous to maybe me and you.
Yes.
When you are desperate, when you don't know what to do, and you're being sold a bill of goods that says, okay, well, you're scared, you have this symptom, and by the way, they do what's called fear mongering. The British Medical Journal called what we do in this country disease mongering. They actually can create the drug first, and then they look for the treatment later. But what they'll do is they'll scare people into taking this stuff, and then of course they have the disclaimers at the end, that it could cause this, and the other thing. But a lot of people take that because they want the quick fix.
Yes.
The quick fix seems like the easy way out, but in the end of the day, the quick fix always costs more money. Quick fix always costs more time. It's the average person, Fidelity Investments a few months ago said the average senior citizen couple will need $250,000 in their bank account liquid to pay for all of their medical care, to the point where our number one cause of bankruptcy in this country is medical bills.
Yes.
And another thing is that the number one recipient of retirement dollars today is nursing homes. It's not our children or our grandchildren like it should be. We're not using the money for the things that we're supposed to be using it for.
Exactly.
And so if you're 75 years old and you're sitting in a nursing home, peeing in a diaper, and you don't remember your children's names, and all of your money is being sucked out to the drug companies and the nursing home, that is not the life that anybody ever dreamed of. But the problem is, most people don't have a plan on how not to end up there in the first place.
Okay, well, I would like to end up not there, so I'm going to ask you a little bit about insurance. Does your office take insurance, or you don't?
We do accept insurance. I'm not in any network for the reason, well, I don't want an insurance company to dictate care to the patient or to me. The care that's necessary is the care that's necessary.
Okay.
And so I come to an agreement with my patients, but we understand this, that health insurance has about as much to do with your health as life insurance has to do with keeping you alive.
Okay.
The only way that you use life insurance is when you're what?
Dead.
When you're dead. And the only way that insurance companies pay for health care is when you're sick. So, and they don't actually do things to create health. So they will pay for symptom care. So if someone comes in and they have symptoms, and they have insurance, we will submit to their insurance company for them for that period of time. But it really depends on, there's so many different plans, and the insurance game is really not that fun. But of course, in order to try to save the people some money, we do try to help them out that way, with the clear understanding that the insurance company is not designed to get them well or to keep them well. Insurance does not pay for health foods. Insurance does not pay for gym memberships. Does not pay for toothpaste or for anything that actually creates health ever. So it's not going to really contribute to their wellness care. Okay.
So, all right, then how do we have to get a referral to come to you, or we can just come to your office?
No, we're what's called a portal of entry physician, which means you can come right in. We are having the workshop, the Living to 100 workshop. At that workshop, we are offering a special for people to get checked out. So for any guest who wants to come to that workshop and hear more about a healthy lifestyle, they're welcome to come.
Okay, tell me a little bit about the workshop, Dr. Simon, and when it is and all that. Tell me a little bit about that.
It's going to be on Monday, this Monday night, March 18th at 7 p.m. at my office. And if you want more information on that, you can go to my website, which is www.drsimons.com. My last name is spelled S-Y-M-O-N-S. Or you can go to MaximizeLiving.com.
Maximize Living?
Yeah.
MaximizeLiving.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we are one of about 450 Maximize Living offices that has come up in the North American area in the last few years. And our job is really not really a job, it's a mission. It's to change the way that people view and receive health care, understanding that people are sick and suffering and they're far from health, whether they feel it or not. And our job is to make sure that children have a better shot than their parents, because right now we've got a shorter life expectancy for adolescents than their parents for the first time in our nation's history.
Okay, let me just remind folks that our special guest this morning is Dr. Simons, and he's here. He's a chiropractor, and he's giving us fantastic information to live, not to die or come to him when you're sick. Okay, so just reminding you that he will be having a workshop on Monday, the 18th of March at 7 p.m. at his office. And would you mind telling us where your office is located, Dr. Simon?
Absolutely. We are just south of Okeechobee Boulevard, right off Palm Beach on 441. So
Okay.
right by the Regal Movie Theater in Royal Palm Beach.
Oh, okay. So you're pretty central for those of us who live in Palm Beach. And I'm sure my viewers from around the world, if you know he's good, you will find yourself to his office when you need some help. All right? Oh, seriously, because when people are sick or when they feel someone can help them, they don't care what the distance is. They will get there. I can tell you that from experience. Okay? All right. I want to get back to a little bit about your treatment process. And say, for instance, I bring someone to you who has had a brain injury, and am I supposed to be hopeful that you will find something that will trigger that left hand to work or that speech to be clearer because you're going to do something different?
So what we would do, let's just say someone's had a stroke, and I've worked with post-stroke victims before.
Right.
The idea would be to, again, if there's any pressure on the upper cervical spinal cord, let's just say at the C1, C2 area right below the skull, we can analyze that with the x-rays and the nerve scan. And if there's physical pressure, the only response for physical interference is a physical solution. You know, if someone's standing on your foot, there's no chemical solution for that. You know, it's inhibiting you from walking properly. So what the answer is to remove that person's foot. In this case, if the bone's on the spinal cord, you reduce that as much as you can.
Right.
The second thing would be, again, through detoxification. If a person has neurotoxins in their brain, which we're all subject to. I mean, every day, if you're drinking fluoridated water, if you are drinking out of plastic bottles, you are, if you've got new furniture in your house or carpeting, you're breathing in stuff. So we are literally exposed to thousands and thousands of industrial toxins that are getting into our bodies through the air, through our skin, through products that people put on their body. Whether it's deodorants or makeups or you name it, or hairsprays. So there are ways to clean our environment and our personal space there. So we make sure that the person is detoxing and increasing their glutathione and other things that will help their body to clean out. And then finally, putting in the good steps so their brain can heal better. Because you literally are what you absorb and what you assimilate.
Right.
To make sure that their digestive system and their immune system and their endocrine systems are all being given what they need.
Okay. All right. I forgot to ask for your phone number, because I think that's normally the first place most people will start, is giving you a call. So you would like to...
Yeah, we can be reached at 561-333-8353.
You want to repeat that for me again?
Sure. It's 333-8353.
lots of threes. Okay, so let me make sure I got it right. It's 561-333-8353.
Yes.
Okay, wow, lots of threes. It's just like yesterday, when the Pope was elected yesterday, I reminded my viewers that yesterday was 3-13-13.
Right.
So here you are today, Dr. Simon, with your threes, 561-333-5383 or 8353. Wow. Yes. Too many threes. Anyway, all right. I just want to talk a little bit about the fact that what's the difference between a chiropractor and a regular medical doctor? Is there a difference?
What's the difference between a chiropractor and a medical doctor?
Yes.
I think that the main difference just between saying those words is the schooling and the degree that we came out with. The first 2 years of chiropractic school are virtually identical to those of medical school in terms of anatomy and physiology, but then after that, the branching out of medicine is to go into pharmacology and drug treatment space, and the last couple of years of chiropractic school is more based upon adjusting and those natural therapies. But a lot of chiropractors practice in a medical model, and some medical doctors practice in a wellness model. So the actual degree itself doesn't guarantee what you're going to get in your end product. Just because someone goes to a chiropractor doesn't mean that they're getting great care. In fact, I would argue that unfortunately the vast majority of chiropractors are still practicing in the wrong model.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
And I'll explain to you. The reason I asked you that question is because a lot of people believe that chiropractors are not really medical doctors, and I keep fighting with them to say, yes, they are. They just chose that specialty to go into, so I thank you for clearing that up.
Well, and we're not medical doctors, but we are doctors. We're doctors.
But you are a doctor, yes. Yeah. Right, okay, so,
and nor would we want to be medical doctors, or if those who wanted to be medical doctors should have gone to medical school.
But you still go to medical school. That's what I want to clear up, because a lot of people...
we go to chiropractic school.
Yes, okay, all right. So, all right, is there anything that you'd like to share with our audience before we go? Because I have lots more questions, but I know you probably don't have the time to take them on. We're going to invite you to come back and talk to us. I want to remind folks about the workshop on Monday. Is this something you have every Monday, Dr. Simon, or is it just special?
We have an advanced workshop once a month.
Oh, it's once a month.
So we have our Cancer Killers workshop coming up next month. Got raising healthy families, where we talk about vaccination and the arguments on both sides. We have fighting off heart disease and diabetes workshops, because these are things that people need to know about. And at the end of the day, I think the last thing that I would leave you with is that people should not give up hope, and they should not just try to turn to outside things to heal them. That power that's created them from birth until now is the same power that's going to heal them. So if you can feel a cut on your hand, that same power that healed the cut can heal anything. We just need to make sure that there's nothing interfering with that process. Okay,
I want to ask you before you go, Dr. Simon, about massages. Does your office offer massages, or is it part of your entire treatment, or can you forget the regular massage place and come to you for a massage? How does that work?
We do have a couple of massage therapists in our office, and I love massage personally. After I work out the way that I work out, it's wonderful to work on the muscles and to get the lymph system really flowing, and I value that treatment a lot. It makes me feel great. Okay. It's very different from chiropractic, so I don't want people to think that massage and chiropractic are the same, because they're not. But I happen to love massage, and I think that they're great for everybody.
So is it part of the chiropractic treatment? So if someone comes, that's part of the process, or that is just a separate thing that is good for you?
It's a separate thing. It's an elective. Just like each of our programs that we have, the nutrition. We have a nutrition consultation with each person. We will give a basic program in terms of here's the foods to eat, here are the things to avoid. But some people we give some chair massages when people are waiting to get adjusted, but some people need more than just a 5-minute little massage. Some people need to really get in there for an hour, and some people need more frequency than that.
Okay.
When it comes to exercise, some people you can give them a program like, here's what you do 6 days a week for 12 minutes a day. Some people are good with that. Other people need, we have our Saturday morning boot camp, our little workout that we do.
Wow.
And we look at it as a culture. You're involved in a different culture than the rest of the world, because the rest of the world's culture is not working out too well.
Okay, well, Dr. Simon, you sound like you have a very big office there with all of that going on. I didn't know, I had no idea that you had such an extensive treatment plan. And you talk a lot about nutrition. Do you have a line of products that you recommend, or is it?
We use various labs that are really scientifically based. So we believe in testing and not just guessing.
Wow.
So for instance, 80% of Americans have been estimated to have vitamin D deficiency, and so we talk to them about getting in the things that they need. A lot of people are not getting their probiotics, but unfortunately they're eating foods with antibiotics. And the overuse of antibiotics is one of the biggest concerns of health organizations around the world. And so we want to make sure that we're building people's immune systems and not tearing them down.
Okay, well, I hope you can come back, because I want to touch on probiotics and for you to explain it. And I'd love to talk about vitamin C also, because I've read a book written by a doctor in New York, and he talks a lot about the healing power of vitamin C. I wanted to touch that with you, but I realized time flies when you're having good fun and when you're getting good information. So I would love for you to come back when you get a chance, because I hear you're a very busy doctor. So we will try to get Novelet Gale to try to set you up another day when you have some time to talk with us again, because probiotics and vitamin C are two of the things I had on my list to ask you, but time has gone. All right.
Let's do a nutrition time, okay? Absolutely.
Yes, this was great conversation, and I thank you so much, Dr. Simon. Let me just remind people that your phone number is 561-333-8353. That's 561-333-8353. And his name is Dr. Matthew Simons. Of course, it's a Simon with a Y instead of an I. And you can check out his website at drsimons.com with a Y. And, of course, MaximumLiving.com. MaximizeLiving.com. Okay, so you can do that, and we are definitely going to have you back, because we have to get into some things that we just didn't have time to touch today. All right.
Wonderful talking to you.
And thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, that was our special guest, Dr. Simon, Matthew Simon. And my goodness, we didn't get to a lot of stuff, but chiropractic is no longer thought of as a quack medicine or a quack doctor or a quack treatment, because some people, I wanted to talk to him too about, some people saying that when they go to the chiropractor and they get adjusted, they have more pain instead of less pain. I want to talk about that, and we are sure that he will join us again. But of course, our time is out and out and out and out. Yes, it is out. So we'll have Dr. Simon back, and I'm going to try to get him to come on the Skype next time so we can actually see him, and we can actually have you call in and ask him your own questions as opposed to the questions that I have, because I do have a lot of questions. I always do anyway. Lots of questions. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. And of course, this evening will be better. We will get into some more topics, and we'll talk about love a little more. We will ask you to call in and give your love story and your love problems, and all the things about love that affect you, whether it's your children, your significant other, your friend, your husband, your wife. We're inviting you to join us this evening, 561-228-1921. That's 561-228-1921. I don't care where you are around the world or in the United States. We invite you to give us a call and let us know, what are your thoughts about that love thing? And how are you feeling? Is love being good to you? Is love being kind to you? Are you in love, out of love? How did you find love? Let's just talk about love this evening, along with all the other topics that we didn't get to today. So, once again, thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget, April 30th is an International I Love Me Day. declared here by the Diana Wright Show live online, and Dr. Simon said you must, sit straight up and keep your posture. So I'll keep that in mind, because you keep going down to the desk, and you need to sit up and be straight and bring the microphone up to you instead of trying to go down to it, and that's a better deal. All right, thank you so much. Again, if you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was never yours. Don't forget, we're live and we're not, kind of stiff here. We just like to relax and invite you to call and encourage you to love yourself and be well and take care of yourself. As Dr. Simon was saying, don't wait until you're sick to get treatment. Try to live and change your lifestyle. Dax was saying something different. It's same thing yesterday in a different way, in a different form, that you need to take care of yourself and be well. Get out of that depression and come into the green with me. Have a great day. Ciao, adios, and au revoir, and goodbye.